Welcome back to the fort, and we are ready to pick right up with Chapter 7 in our Dragon Master's book, Search for the Lightning Dragon. Chapter 7, The Rattling Shells. How will Bo and Anna ever catch that dragon? Drake asked. Diego nodded. I am afraid that only his Dragon Master will be able to calm him. I hope Bob finds Carlos soon. Isn't there anything else we can do? Drake asked. Diego shook his head. We must wait. Bob has never failed me. Drake frowned. It felt wrong to be sitting around when Bo and Anna were flying after a dragon that shot sparks. Come, Diego said. Let's eat and then get Worm's room ready for tonight. Diego led Drake through the twisting cottage, and Drake saw that strings of seashells hung on every wall. They passed a room full of plants. Another room held jars and bottles filled with colorful liquids. Another room was full of books. They finally came to the last room, which looked almost like a stable. There was hay on the floor. Two big doors opened up onto the outside. This room had strings of seashells on the walls, too. I built this room in case any of Griffith's dragons came to visit me, Diego explained. Worm is my first guest. Diego and Drake swept out of the stable. When they finished, they swept out the stable. When they finished, they opened the doors, and Worm slid inside and curled up in the hay, smiling. Drake turned to Diego. What were those other rooms we passed through? Ah, I shall give you a tour, he said. Follow me. Diego led Drake back through the cottage. In the first room, the wizard showed Drake books about baby dragons. In the second room, Diego mixed a red potion and a blue potion together in a glass. There was a puff of smoke, and a purple stone shaped like an onion appeared. A reminder of home, Diego said, giving it to Drake. Thanks, said Drake. In the third room, Diego handed Drake a dried green plant. This one is good for keeping away bad energy, he said. It is also very tasty in stew, which reminds me, we should get dinner started. They went to the kitchen where Diego gave Drake some carrots to chop. As Drake picked up a carrot, he heard a rattling noise, and he looked up. The strings were shaking and the shells were clinking. Diego quickly took his wand out of his pocket. Why are the shells moving? Drake asked. Diego didn't answer. He waved the wand and muttered some strange words. A blue light streamed from the wand and snaked through the cottage. When the light faded, Diego ran outside and looked up in the sky. What just happened? Drake asked. The shells work like a magical alarm, Diego said. They rattle when danger is near. Drake shivered. Danger? He asked. Robbers, magical creatures, dark wizards, things like that, Diego replied. But whoever it was, they're gone now. The blue light from my wand chased them away. Diego didn't say anything more about the shells. He and Drake made a stew and cooked it over the fire. When it got hot, Diego closed the shutters. When it got dark, Diego closed the shutters. He brought out a straw mattress for Drake, along with a blanket and a pillow. and then he set them next to the fire. It gets chilly at night, Diego said. You'll be warm here. Thank you, Drake said, and he climbed under the blanket. The room was dark, but he could see the white gleam of the seashells just before he closed his eyes. Chapter 8. The Search Continues. The next morning, Diego and Drake were up with the sun. There was still no sign of Bob. Let's pop back to the castle, said Diego. Perhaps the others have learned something that can help us. Worm can stay here and keep watch. I'll tell Worm, Drake said. Then he ran to the stable. Keep an eye on things, please, Drake told his dragon. If the shells rattle again, let me know. Worm nodded as Diego walked over, holding his wand. Ready? He asked. Stand close. Drake obeyed. Will your magic feel the same as when Worms transports us? Drake asked. Just about, Diego answered. Then he waved his wand. Drake started to feel tingly. Then before he knew it, poof! They were back inside Griffin's workshop. Petra and Rory were sitting at a table. The table was piled with books, and Rory was yawning. Griffith was standing next to them. Good morning, Griffith said. Do you have news? We haven't found Carlos yet, Diego replied. Have you learned anything useful about lightning dragons? We learned that lightning dragons are not easy to catch, Griffith replied. I could have told you that without reading 20 books, Rory pointed out. Griffith frowned at Rory. We also found out that they like to eat sugar or anything sweet, Petra said. And one book says they'll calm down if you can find a way to drain their energy. But the book didn't say how to drain their energy, Rory added. Griffith sighed. I'm afraid Rory's right. We still have much to learn. Keep at it. I'm sure you will find out more soon, Diego said. Before we go, Griffith, I must speak with you. The two wizards stepped aside and spoke in whispers. Drake knew that Diego was telling Griffith about the shaking seashells. When the wizards finished, Drake said goodbye to his friends. Then Diego and Drake poofed back to the cottage. When they walked inside, Bob was sitting on the kitchen table. Bob, Diego said. The bird hopped onto Diego's shoulder and started chattering. Very good, Bob. Thank you, Diego said. The bird flew away, and Diego turned to Drake. Looks like we're off again. Did he find Carlos? Diego asked. He did, Diego. Did he find Carlos? Drake asked. He did, Diego replied. He waved his wand. A second later they were standing in front of a cottage in a busy fishing village. Drake could see boats floating in the ocean. Men carrying buckets and nets walked down to the water. A boy with a white streak in his black hair was staring at Drake and Diego. Wow, looks like they may have found him. Where did you two come from? The boy asked. Hello, Carlos, Drake said, and Diego followed. I am Diego, and this is my friend Drake. Carlos's dark eyes narrowed. How did you know my name? I am a wizard, Diego explained. We have come to find you. You're a dragon master, Drake blurted out. He was excited to tell Carlos the news. A dragon what? Carlos asked, frowning. Then the cottage door opened. A white-haired woman stepped out. Carlos, who are you speaking to? She asked. Then she spotted Diego, and her eyes grew wide. What are you waiting for? Invite this wizard and his friend inside. Carlos nodded. Yes, abuela, he said. He waved at Diego and Drake to follow him. Drake noticed that Carlos was still frowning. He doesn't trust us yet, Drake thought, and that worried him. The lightning dragon was too hard to catch without his dragon master. I hope we can make him believe us. Chapter 9. We'll pick up there tomorrow.